Sat Naams, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's good to be back here with a new course on Karam Kriya. I've been delaying this for a while. We've been taking a detour in the channel with doing many videos on sound, and I thought it was about time to start going back to the numbers. So today we're going to start the new course on Karam Kriya. I am Ardaas Singh. If you don't know me, we've been doing other courses on other numbers in what we call Karam Kriya numerology. I recommend that you start with those. This will be like the fourth step on a journey through the 9 numbers. So it will make more sense if you start with the course that says number 7. So this is number 2 we're going to be doing today. We're going to start with number 2. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so if you're just seeing this recorded, then maybe you just continued after number 1. But if you have been following the channel, you will notice that I've been away from numbers for a while in these courses, and my intention is to come back now and take it on. So let's do that with number 2, but let's remember where we are, because it's been a while, so it will be useful to refresh the memory and see where have we been to, that now we are coming into number 2. And today we are going to do this refreshing of the memory in nature. And I thought it would be really appropriate first because I didn't want to have to be exactly in the office ready to be able to record that video. Today I felt inspired. I wanted to do it now, and I didn't want to say, no, I cannot do it, let's wait another week or something like that. So I wanted to start even if it's in nature, but actually nature is aligned with number 2. So this is a perfect place to do it. Obviously other videos will have to be done in the office because I need paper to write things down. But for today, it will serve doing it here in this very green space. So in Karam Kriya, we do the sequence of learning, which is 7, 5, 1. And then from the 1 we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, but the 7 is already being covered at the beginning. And now we are in the step of number 2. With this, how did we get here? Well, 7 was to talk about what we already think that we know, talk about the mind, talk about our understanding, talking about our knowledge and about our fantasies about what numbers could be and the world and mind games and all that, because if we don't deal with that, then that's going to corrupt whatever understanding we get from the other numbers. So that's why we start from number 7. Then we come into number 5, and number 5 is the meeting point of all the voices. This is where we explore all the things that are 5, like the 5 elements or the 5 seasons, things like that, the 5 tastes and also so on and so forth. And that's our first contact with numbers as a whole. 5 is like the center of the circle, 10 is the periphery, 10 contains all of it, but from the center we can already touch a little bit of everything. So it's like everything coming together to this center of number 5, and that's why in number 5 we explore a little bit of every number, but on a very surface level and more about seeing how they are all connected to each other in a rough way. For example, we were talking about how the elements nurture each other, how the water is there to nourish the earth so that the earth can be more fertile, and how the heat of the sun is like warming up the moist earth so that light can produce life. Yeah? So that's 1, 2, 3, yeah? And 4 is air, and this whatever life comes out needs oxygen to survive, and so on. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. And we were exploring that in number 5. We were talking about how these elements were connecting to each other, but we didn't go too deep into either earth or water or anything like that. And it's for every number to do that slowly. So that's what we did in number 5. And number 1, we started doing that with the first element, that was the earth. And sometimes when we think about earth, some people say, well, earth is very feminine. It's like, well, earth by itself is not particularly feminine. It's quite a masculine thing. If we think about earth without water, so the desert, the the rock or the dry desert that doesn't hold much life, really. Life comes with the adding of water and comes later on. So earth by itself is like the winter is barren, is empty, and it has no life. It has the seeds in it and the potential for life, but it hasn't manifested yet. So that's why number one is very still, it's very steady, it's very stable. Yeah, you will remember that from a video we did on the sound ST. Yeah, and it's funny that I was thinking today how appropriate it was that I actually stopped right there. And actually happens very often when we do a training. There's a large group of people who join in, and then we do 7, 5, 1, and after number one, the group reduces and reduces in size. Number one is a small number, and some people just have to stop. Yeah, they come to a break, kind of like a still point. And somehow that happened to me while I was teaching this in this course, because I've been teaching numbers many years, but doing it in this format for YouTube is the first time. And so we did the course on the 7, on the 5, on the 1, and then we stopped for a year. So that's kind of the quality of number one. Is still, stable, but kind of, asleep. And it's like the earth that has no life with it until the water touches it, and then life can come up. So spring, and now we're coming into summer here. At least last week was incredibly hot here in Portugal. But if we ignore the beginning of summer for a moment, yeah, you can see all this greenery. Yeah, you can see that this is water has come into the earth, and the earth finds that it's alive. And this is number two. If one is the seed, number two is associated with the water, and so it's going to be associated with the roots that come out of the seed to drink the water and nourish itself for the life that it has ahead. So two is connected to life. And we know that all numbers are linked through the axis. So 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, and 5 and 10. So if we look at number 2, the corresponding axis is 2 and 8. And 8 is infinite, but 8 is also death. So 2 would be life and 8 would be death. And if 1 is the number of the seed that is under the earth, that is hidden, that is invisible, and it can, be asleep for 100 years until you put water to it. 2 is when these roots start to take on, and it becomes alive. Yeah, the seed was asleep, now it's alive. So if we look at the let's say the development of life in a human, the number 1 will be still the conception, yeah, and very much the baby in the belly of the mother. That's number 1, is hidden. Yeah, it's like the seed that is hidden. And number 2 is about birth. It's about being born. And yeah, I mean, there's different layers of ways of looking at this. You could look at it from a different perspective, but anyway, that's one way to do this. So we come into number 2, and whatever we learn in number 1, now we're going to give it water. We're going to give it life. And so number 2 is going to be very associated with the water. It's good to have the dictionary of numbers that we created when we started number 5, and to reflect upon the different aspects that are associated with every number, particularly taking the column of number 2, so that we can already start to create associations that are going to be useful to connect ideas with number 2. So remember that this is Karam Kriya, and Karam Kriya we study life through numbers and numbers through life. Interesting, yeah, we're talking about life today, 2 and 8. So life through numbers and numbers through life. So you can start doing this association like I just gave you the elements, for example. That's one little part of number 2. That's one little thing. I would say that's one of the pillars. And it's good to start with the pillars because that's the thing that we have most solid in our understanding. Sorry, my camera is not very stable today. I'm not thinking too much of the how am I seeing, but more about what am I saying. It's hard to do both, and in my male mind, it likes to do one thing at a time. And so it's good to have your dictionary of numbers and taking the pillars and study the pillars by themselves, isolated. Oh, I see a message. Hello, Sat Naams, Vairu, Sananji. Hello, Namah Shivaya. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Anya. Actually, I don't remember your name, but hello, welcome. So, one way to do this is to take one of the pillars and explore it. So, for example, I just mentioned the connection to water. What does that mean? So, number 2 is water. What does that mean? And it's good to just stop and reflect. Yeah, what is water? And how interesting. I'm just looking at the landscape here. Vision is number 3. Actually, 3 and 7. 7 is to see, and 3 is about being seen. But the seed of number 1 is hidden. Number 2 are the roots. The roots are not particularly visible. The visible part is the branches and the trunk. That's number 3. But look, the 3 is going to tell us something about the 2. So the sequence that we are doing is 1, 2, 3, 4, because we come from number 1 and we are moving into number 2. So this is the first sequence we got to know on the last course. And so you say, okay, well, hold on. There is something that I see. Yeah, there is all these green trees and grass and herbs and plants. Well, I cannot see the water, but I can see that they are being nourished in some way. So maybe there's some underwater spring, and also I can see where it rains and when it rains, where the water goes through. So like, for example, here we have, like there's a little path that has been, I mean, now it's used for mountain bikes, but this is also probably like the way that water naturally wants to come down. Yeah, water wants to come down this way, and so it's easy to create a little path on the surface of the rocks that we can see where the water was coming through. So water is also not necessarily visible, but we can appreciate where it has been and the impact that it's had, also because of the fertility that the water gives. Okay, so that's one thing. Yeah, it just occurred to me right now. Let's look at it a bit more. Water flows down. Yes. So if we look at how the water moves, we can see which way is down, and water is going to want to merge with other streams. Yeah, little streams will merge together and become a river, or flow down into a sea or a lake. So water likes to flow into a place and then merge with others. We will see how this is interesting, particularly when we're in a consultation and we are talking to somebody. What's the flow of what they are saying, and where are things being directed, and what is it feeding? Yeah, the water is nourishing something. So what am I nourishing? And in the case of a consultation, we are using words, but the words are also kind of flowing, and you can see what the person is nourishing with those words, and where are they putting energy into. Water and energy are similar, and they are both 2 and 8. So where are we investing our energy, our effort, our time? This is all number 2. Though, it's 2 and 8. The experience of number 2 is more about the lack of, is more about the need of time, the need of energy, the need of power, than the expression and the powerful flow of something. That would be more number 8. Number 8 is more like the source, and the 2 is more like the necessity of that, or the lack. 2 is the number of needs and necessities. We will talk more about this on the next video. I think on the next video we will do that exercise that I like to do, where I draw 2 points and then we see what happens. But let's not run ahead. Let's keep going slowly. There's water likes to flow down. So there is a relationship between water and gravity. Gravity is linked to earth, is linked to number 1, and the water wants to go down to number 1. So interesting, yeah, that we associate water to the subconscious as well. I see many connections right now. Let me try to bring order to my thoughts so that it's not too confusing. But there's 5 levels of consciousness, which we saw also in this diagram of 5 things. And the second level was subconscious. And that's also the reign of dreaming, of dreams. So 2 and 8 will be the reign of dreams. And when we are dreaming, the subconscious plays out its images in a way. Images is 3 and 7, yeah, but this is like dream space, dream world, dream time. And here, the image is not so clear and well defined and rational like in the 3 and 7, but it's flowing, it's moving, it's changing. And sometimes you see an animal and it becomes like a machine, and then whatever, a person becomes an animal, and weird things like this happen in dreams because they are flowing like the 2. So the subconscious linked to 2 flows into the 1, yeah, through gravity. So this is like the subconscious into the unconscious, like when we are dreaming, when we are sleeping and we go into dreaming, similar, yeah, we lose consciousness. But also subconscious is the place where we hold these unfinished dramas and traumas, and things that we feel negative about, and they caused us some suffering. They cause some suffering, and we hold them there in the subconscious. And the thing is, if we allow too much energy to go into that, if we give too much water energy into those kind of dramas with the victim mentality, right, then we're going down, just like the water wants to go down into the 1. Let's see, no bird sounds or any creature, animal near by me. The place is very quiet. It's quite quiet, though there is a highway not too far. I can see just a little bit of some trucks moving by, but mostly I just hear birds. I don't know if this microphone is gonna pick it up, but there's some birds around. Let me just keep silence for a second. I don't know if you can hear it. There's the sound of wind and the sound of a few birds, but not too many right now. So if we give water, if we give energy to this negativity, then we are going down to the 1. And that's not pleasant. That's not nice. But that is just the nature of water. So we have to be careful how do we do it. Now water, though, it can be contained. You can let it flow. There's things about emotions. We will talk about emotions quite a bit in this course. But also you have to be careful with that, because if this containment means that the water stays still, you recognize the sound of number 1, because it's not flowing anymore. If it was flowing, it would be in the 2, but if you make it stop, ST, and then now it's a still, that's number 1, the water will tend to accumulate toxicity. That's something of the quality of the 2 and 8, but then you will see like insects coming up very soon, and then that's 1 and 9, yeah, by the way, more 9 than 1, and then bacteria and viruses multiplying and things like that. So the water, to hold its purity in a way, it needs to flow. It needs to be kept in movement. Now, what does that mean? Well, we are just observing nature, right? We are learning numbers through nature and nature through numbers. So if we identify that thing in nature, then maybe we can also correlate it to something in our nature and make it useful in some way, applicable to ourselves. So we will see about that. We will talk more about these things, but this is just the beginning, the prelude to how to reflect upon numbers. Water is good for cleaning. And in a way, all the numbers are connected. So if you are in the desert, you're not going to use water for cleaning, right? Because water is very precious. You can use sand to clean your plate, but it's not going to have the same effect. It's not going to look as clean as when you use water, right? So, yes, you can clean with earth, but the result is going to be different, and probably even the process of cleaning with earth will be different than with water. Now, you can use fire. If you have a plate with some remains, you can burn it up. You can put fire and burn the remains, and eventually the plate stays there. But it will have an effect on the plate as well. So, and it's not so efficient. So, okay, you can burn, but is it really cleaning what you are doing with the burning? How about the wind? We can blow of it. We can blow on whatever is on the plate and get it out, but how effective will it be? And is if you have nothing else, no other way to do it, you can try that. I saw the other day, there was a beach, and coming out of the beach, there is often these taps where you can wash your feet before you go home to your car. I've always lived near the water, so I'm very familiar with beaches, and I don't know if you are or not, but very often when it's a public place and it's a beach for the children and everything, they put this tap, and then you can go there and wash your feet and maybe even a shower before you go into your car. And I saw that there was these beaches where they were putting like air spray rather than water. So you could spray your feet with air and repel the sun before you go into the car. So yeah, you can do it. It's interesting, but it's different. It's a different method, and the effect is also different. It's like burning the food. I mean, are you really cleaning? Okay, more or less. It's purifying in a way, but the most essential element for cleaning is water. Hold on, I missed it. Our ancestors used ash rag for cleaning utensils. My grandma used to do the same, and utensils shine perfectly in India before the year 2000. Yes, wonderful, yeah. And it's different than using water, so it has a different effect. So we have all these things. So even though this often happens, when we study numbers. Okay, we say, all right. Yeah, cleaning is number 2. All right, yeah, we associate it to water, but there is layers and there is levels, and there is also other ways to see it. And there's ways to see the cleaning in other numbers as well, like with the ash, like you were saying. Ash, by the way, would be number 1 and 9, because it's like dust, but as a result of fire, probably. You're burning something and then you produce ash. So this is actually the sequence 3-1 for 2. So some of you will remember that there is 4 natural sequences: 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, 3, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this sequence that we were just exploring right now with the message that we have in the chat, it's about fire, 3, 1 produces ashes, and 4 with maybe conscious application of those ashes, then you can get to clean it in some way. So 3, 1, 4, 2. Let me see. Let me not get lost. Yeah, this way. All right, so that's an interesting application of the sequence, which ends up in the 2, which is the cleansing part. Number 2 is the quality of being cleansed. But in general, we will just associate it to water. Yeah, water is cleansing. Okay, but that is flowing water, right? That is not water that has been stuck, that has been still, that has been blocked, and that is not flowing. So it's important, that aspect as well. And then when we are going to be talking about, so we identify this in nature, then when we are talking about other things that we know are associated to number 2, we can bring this concept in. So if we are talking about 2 like the subconscious, or we are talking about 2 like dreams, or we are talking about number 2 as emotions and energy, well, let's apply this, right? What about cleansing emotions? Well, then something has to flow. And what about my subconscious? How to deal with my subconscious? So that you can learn to apply the principles that you observe in nature through the numbers to other things which correlate to the same number. So that's the basic idea. What else more about water? I mentioned that there is a sequence of nourishment from 1 to 4, like water nourishes the earth, and the heat of the fire is going to nourish that moist earth so that it can have life, and then it's going to be breathing oxygen. So that's number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But how about the other way around as well? Because the air is consumed by fire. Fire, when you build a fire, it consumes oxygen. Yeah. So the 4 is consumed by number 3. Consciousness is consumed by the mind. That's another way of looking at it. And the fire is consumed by water. Sometimes, like there's a fire, you throw a bucket of water to it, right? To consume it. And water is consumed by earth. So if you put earth on top of water, it's going to soak it up. It's going to absorb it. So it's going to disappear as well. So there is a sequence of production, of nourishment, a sequence of consumption, and that's going to give us the relationship between the different numbers and also between the different elements. So how is water going to be relating to fire and earth and wind? All right. What else? What else do we know about water? I wish this was a workshop where we could be face to face, we could all sit together, and I could just ask the question, what else do you know about water? And I would be very happy to hear your thoughts. If you're online, you can write down. If you are just listening to this on a recorded video, write it in the chat. Let me know, how do you connect water? To what do you connect water? And we can do something with that. We can get drowned in water. It can be too much water. That would be more like towards the 8, yeah, the 2 and the 8. But again, in the number 2, it's more about I need water. I'm thirsty. It's about the thirst. It's about the need. It's the expression of the roots. Remember that the seed is number 1 and number 2 are the roots. So the roots have come out of the seed and now they are looking for water because they are thirsty and they need it to survive and they need it to grow and grow out of the earth. So this neediness, this need, this necessity, this is also the quality of number 2. So that's a good way to start connecting it. Let's think about everything a little bit more. Let's continue with the water. What else can we find about water? Sometimes this metaphor is used a lot in the yogic teachings. I am a drop of water who is returning to the ocean. Yeah. Water means gravity, you write? Well, water is very heavy, and water flows down towards the earth, towards the lowest point. That's by gravity. So you can feel the gravity by watching water. But apart from that, I'm not sure what you mean by means gravity. Is that what you mean? That it flows down? Is gravity grow? It's useful for growing. Yeah, it's needed for growing, for growth. So number 2 is about the roots, and the roots are seeking out this nourishment in order for whatever comes later to grow, indeed. So I was just mentioning how it's in the yogic teachings we sometimes say, I'm a drop of water returning to the ocean. You can hear also sometimes the expression, I am a spark in the eternal fire, or I am a grain of sand in the desert, in the infinite desert, right? But the most common expression is I'm a drop of water returning to the ocean, and that's linked to the 2, 1, and 8, and 8 is connected to infinity, so that's the drop of water coming back to the infinity. But again, 8 could be overwhelming. Yeah, even the drop of water who is returning to the ocean could feel overwhelmed. And when we are in the step number 2, it's much more humble than that, hopefully. Actually, we have to make a little warning here, because as we are moving from the 1 up, remember that the virtue of number 1 was humility. And it would be very easy to forget about that. As we are moving into number 2, the little grain, the little acorn starts to produce these roots, and it starts to grow, and it starts to feel power, and it starts to feel that it's going to express itself, and it's easy to go into ego, which is quality for number 3. So it's easy from the 1 through the 2 already forget the 1, already forget the humility, and end up in the ego. So this is a good warning, a good moment in the training, that as we have done 7, 5, and 1, as we are advancing 2, 3, 4, to never forget the 1, never forget where we come from. Yeah, this water flows down. Water is subjected to gravity. Yeah, it's heavy too, along with gravitation effect. Yeah, exactly. It's very heavy. It's actually quite heavy, the water, which is why, boats can float. If you see why a metal ship, it seems almost crazy. It's hard to understand. I'm a scientist. I know physics. I know how things work in some basic level and some things. Yeah, I studied this. I'm an engineer by what I studied. But even though I know all these things, I see this huge metal ship in the sea, and it's just, how can it float? It's amazing. But then water is really, really heavy. So it's good to know that. And also that we are made of water. We are 70%, well, it's more like 80 when we are babies, and it starts to go down from there. And 70, 60, when you are old, maybe you are down to 60% of water in your body. And you can feel it, your bones crackling and cracking and, getting dry. The skin is more, there is less water within it. But we are all bags of water, walking bags of water. And if we think about the brain is 90% water. So that's also very interesting. And it will make you think about this. There's a lovely documentary I found in YouTube, a video. It was The Memory of Water, was called, by I cannot remember the physicist now, the name, but he was a Nobel Prize winner. Very, very good one. Very interesting, The Memory of Water, and something to reflect on how it works. If you are curious, just watch that video, look for it. Let's see, is there any message that I missed? No. Okay, thanks. So let's not forget this as we are moving from the 1 to the 2, and we will continue in the 2 for 10 different videos, going up to number 3. It's easy to forget the humility of the 1 and concentrate on what is happening with all this water, and there is this life appearing and energy, and now I feel nourished, now I feel I want to do things, I desire to do things, because this number 2 is also associated with desires and needs and desires. We are connecting to the second chakra, sexuality and a lot of things like connected to that. So it's easy when we raise, as we are raising to the number 2, that we forget number 1. And if we forget about number 1, particularly about the virtue of number 1, we will have problems, because I mentioned number 2 is also the drama and number 3 is going to be the karma. So if we continue, if we carry on and we move into the 3 and we haven't purified enough the 7, made it transparent enough through the sacrifice of the 5 coming into the 1, if we haven't hold on to the virtue of humility strong enough as we go 7, 5, 1, when we are moving 1, 2, 3, we are going to fall into the karma and the drama, and that's going to be a little bit nasty. But it's not different from where we are before we start the whole journey, so it will be a well-known space. In fact, we will get comfortable again. Part of the reason why we stop in the number 1, as I was mentioning before, is because it can be a bit uncomfortable, the dryness of it, the number 1. And actually numbers are number 9, which is linked to the 1. So numbers by themselves can be quite dry, and they are, that's why also, another thought, that's why we are saying study life through numbers, numbers through life, or nature and numbers. We connect both things because that's how it becomes alive, and they are not so dry. Because if we just look at numbers by themselves, that's just bare 1 and 9, that's a bit too much. And then even the numbers are highly intelligent. The study of numbers is a very intelligent process. It could get intellectual. It's intelligent, but it's not meant to be intellectual. But if we forget about this 7 becoming transparent through the sacrifice, 751, of the ego and the mind games, if we forget about that sacrifice and we haven't purified that enough, as we are moving 1, 2, 3, and we don't keep the purity of the virtue that was coming from the 1, then as we come into the 3, it's about the ego, and we get lost again. And the thing is, we know about this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, that hold on, where am I going? Oh wait, I'm going through I need to turn around. If I keep going this way, I'm gonna get too far, so excuse me. I just realized I was in automatic pilot, because sometimes I go that way. What was I saying? 1, 2, 3. Oh yes. So the sequence that we came to study on the previous number was 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the challenge about this sequence is how to get to the 4 and being able to, for this consciousness, holding the virtue of number 1. And we will see that this is especially important when we get to number 4. But already here is an indication that we should be aware of it, because if you remember, there is a trap, a lock that gets created between number 2 and the 3. And as we do 1, 2, 3, we don't get to the 4, and we get trapped in the 2, 3. And that's, we used to draw the number 4 and get trapped between the 2 and the 3, and that's the karma drama, which is really what being in this planet is about. We are born in this planet, and we forget we are a soul, and we have certain number of karmas that manifest, and we're gonna have to deal with them. Hold on a second. All right, I never see motorbikes around here, but all right. So as we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, we have to be careful not to get trapped in the 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And we will realize that sometimes jumping from this 2 to the 3, that will come at the end of this number, because this is the first video. It was going to be 10 videos, and what we usually do is we dedicate the first videos to study a number, and then the last videos to do the sequence. the sequence that starts with number 2 is 2, 4, 1, 3. And sometimes what we have to do is this, because we are coming from the 1, doing 1, 2, 3, 4, but between the 2 and the 3, it's sometimes hard to do the jump, especially if you've forgotten about the virtue of the 1. So, because you can get locked and then there is no space for the 1 and the 4. So we need to make that slower. So 1, 2, and from the 2 to the 3, we need to slow down and do 2, 4, 1, 3. We will see how this sequence is about stop. Number 4 says stop, wait, slowly. Number 1, okay, let's go back. Let's go on. Yeah, so 2, 4, 1, 3. We will see more about this sequence in the later videos on this course. But you can already start to, as I was suggesting before, taking the numbers. Hold on, there's a message here. It is related to the moon, as water is related to the moon, and both related to the moon. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, exactly. So, if number 1 was a very male number, I was mentioning before, because it's the dry earth, it's not the mother earth, Gaia, which is very fertile and full of water. When we think about Gaia, we think about a very green planet, not about a barren, desertic planet. So number 1 is very malish, but number 2 is feminine. So we have come into the feminine number, and indeed it is ruled by the moon, number 2. And the moon will be affecting the water in the planet and in us. If we are 70% water, our brains are 90%. Moon has a strong influence over that. And, this has been known forever, that when there is full moon, some people go crazy a little bit. And, this is widely observed in psychiatry and psychology, and even I remember there was some numbers from police stations that they report the days of full moon, everything that happens, and they will say, well, is it because there is more light in the full moon? No, I don't know about that. I think there is something else, and that's the effect that the moon is having over us. But it's an interesting point, yeah, because the moon is connected. There is also another connection, which is that, well, the moon is a reflection of the sun. That's why the moon is shining, is reflecting the light of the sun. So there is something about that reflection of the light that is connected also to the water, and how the water reflects. Even if we look at ourselves on a lake that is very still, we will see our image reflected. So there is a quality about that as well, connected also to the moon. And in fact, when you are looking at the lake, at the surface of the lake, if the water is still, ST, so that's the 1 carried on to the 2. You see, this is how the virtue of the 1 comes on to the 2. If the water is very disturbed, then we are not going to see a pure reflection, but it's going to be a disturbance. And it's going to be disturbing to watch. But if the 1 has been kept and the surface of the lake is very still, then that reflection is going to be very clear, like the light from the moon. Now you can already start to translate this to what we were saying before. What does that mean, that the water is not moving? Well, water is emotions, water is subconscious. Are your emotions soft, or are they very disturbed? Or do you go a lot with those emotions? And actually, I've seen, especially with people who have number 28 in the date of birth, especially on the day being born on the number 28, they are often having a lot of up and downs. It's like a roller coaster. So the surface of the water is not very flat. It's not very, very steady, and it's always like this. Well, always, shouldn't generalize it, but it's often like this. But it's interesting, number 28 would like to say always, because that's 2 and 8 is 10. So they sometimes use this language. You could say they're always like this. So that's the 10 with the 2 and the 8, with the emotion that is coming up and down. It's very exciting because emotions are exciting, but it's also, you can get dizzy from so many emotions, and you can drown in them. That would be drowning in the water. So, but if the surface is kept calm, then there is a reflection. And actually, if we observe the stillness of our thoughts and emotions, because they are connected, that's the 2 and the 3 being connected, but especially our emotional state, that is a reflection of how we are inside, and especially how we are with the number 2. So that's interesting as well. Moon is connected to sexuality, and this is the second chakra, isn't it? So the moon, and also there's so many things coming up. I'm not sure how much I want to speak about this, because then we may do another video where we go more in depth into these things. But I was just contemplating how, when we talk about yoga, and particularly hatha yoga, and sometimes it's described, hatha yoga is like the yoga of the sun and the moon, and there is this drawing of the Ajna chakra and the 2 petals, and in one of them there is a moon, and the other there is a sun. So this is the yoga of balancing sun and moon, and when both are balanced, the thin path of Sushumna opens up, between Ida and Pingala. So moon is one of these 2 aspects. So, but when you are looking at the moon and you see the reflection of the sun, it's a way to realize that there is a duality, or let's say there's a polarity. This is one of the problems of number 2, that we make a duality out of a polarity. We will explore this later on. But so I'm looking at the moon, I'm looking at the reflection of the moon, and that is already telling me that there is a polarity, and that is affecting me. Let me see. I read somewhere 1 is sun, 2 is moon, 5 is earth. All right. So if you're talking about planets, there is a way to connect the planets, though. The sun I would associate more with number 10. So sun is the circle that we see in the sky. From the time when we were living in caves, you would come out and you would see this circle in the sky, and it's giving light. But that's a very different light from the light of the fire. That's 3 and 7. That's the light that we humans make. 3 and 7 is the language of technology and man-made magic. But we are trying to imitate God. And that 10 is that number of the perfection. It's a circle. And this is the thing that we most associate with perfection. And there's not many pure circles in nature. You can see it in the iris of the eyes, you can see it in the ball of the sun, but you don't see that many perfectly round things. So this perfection we associate with the 10, we associate with God. And so the sun bringing light, and that light makes everything else possible, then that is the light of number 10. I think it might have been the first or the second or the third video I did for this channel was about light and Karam Kriya. And I was exploring how in yoga we often put the arms in 60 degrees or the legs. And there is a connection between that and getting up in the morning in Amrit Vela, in the early hours of the morning before the sun rises. And it's a connection with the angle that the rays of light hit the earth. And I explore that through the numbers, and I believe in that video, it's been a few years already, but I believe in that video I was exploring the different numbers that explore light. And fire produces light, but that's the 3 and 7. The arc line, arco de luz, we call it in Spanish, which literally would be arc of light. So it's like some light that is coming out of our head, like in the saints you can see this light shining very strongly. In the paintings you can see this arc of light around their heads. And so there is different numbers and different types of light. Hold on a second. Let me just reflect where I am. All right, carry on. Okay, so we were coming back to the moon, yes? And you could connect the other planets as well. The thing is, I never really did much on that. I never studied like Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, partly because I don't understand it too well. I was never attracted to astrology. I have nothing bad to say about astrology. It's just that it's not a field that interests me too much. And my reference is numbers, is not the planets. But if you are interested in planets, you can connect it to the numbers. So I have a table where everything is written down. I could look at the table and tell you, oh yeah, Saturn is this number. But I'm not much into this. I don't know much about Saturn and Venus and all that. Mercury, and I don't know. I don't understand too much about this and astral charts. I've had it done once, but yeah, it doesn't really appeal me. I'm much more attracted to the date of birth for myself. But if you study astrology, you can connect it. And I know some people in our Sangat who are astrologers, and they connect it to the numbers, and it gives them even deeper understanding of the astrology. What they do with astrology, knowing numbers, they can go even deeper into that. So it's perfectly compatible. It's just a different cosmogony, a different system. But we have a sun, we have a moon. We can look at the moon and we can notice that there is a polarity. There is the day, and then there is the night. And that's one of the most basic polarities that we ever experience. One of the most basic ones. Yeah, there will be some others that are absolutely the most intrinsic in us. Like, for example, being hungry. I'm hungry and I eat, and I'm satiated, or maybe I'm feeling full and heavy. Yeah, that the two go into the one, into the gravity. But there is a polarity. I'm hungry, I need, and then I have it and I'm full. Empty and full. Just like, oh, it's dark. Oh, it's light. Oh, it's night. Oh, it's day. And that polarity is sun and moon. So we see that. And actually that very same polarity, it's also the polarity between Shiva and Shakti, between hot and cold, between Ida and Pingala, between male and female, and positive and negative, and so on. So polarity is everywhere in the world. Everything within us has polarity, and therefore it's number 2. So we're gonna see that polarity rising as we talk about number 2 in different ways. Hold on a second. Come to another intersection. I'll show you around. So there is another message I saw. T is the moon, Ha is the sun. Yes. And we often chant Hara, 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 and we move the navel point, because the navel is the 3rd chakra, and that's fire. And that's kind of like the sun. It's not that the sun is with number 3. The sun, I would say, is more number 10. But in the 3rd chakra, we have like a little ball of fire within us. And so with Ha, we stimulate that. So yeah, Hatha Yoga would be Ha is the sun, and Ta would be the moon. And even though when I looked at the drawings of the Ajna chakras, I think I mentioned this in another video, if you look at the symbols in the petals of Ajna chakra, it's generally Ha and Ksha. So it's not really Hatha. But I've seen it also, the connection between Ksha and Ta. So this is Hatha Yoga or Haksha Yoga. Actually it's Haksha, the 2 petals. But there is this idea that there is also the sun and the moon right in our forehead. And it makes sense because it's right in our forehead, which is the area of our brain which is most human. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that we have developed as humans, as a difference in contrast with primates or other mammifers or reptilians, we have this frontal lobe, and this frontal lobe, by the way, is one, which up until here there was the two hemispheres, left and right and so on. When we come to the frontal lobe, which is one, is like this polarity has to become one, and it is right here where we focus the eyes in one point in meditation to find the stillness amidst the polarity and find what we call the paradox. This is something, I don't know if we talked about this on number 5 or not, about the paradox, but how in the middle of the polarity we can be at peace with both and hold them in stillness, holding both aspects at once. That's a paradoxical state, but the spiritual path is full of paradoxes. That's something I like to say. And so this is the point where both can get still, and in the focusing on this point, in the stillness, then the crown chakra opens, and then that's how we connect. We have this spiritual connection higher up. All right. So the moon is connected to sexuality, the moon is connected to the water, the moon is a reflection of the sun. So we can see how easily those things are connecting. And moon is feminine, so number 2 is feminine. And in the studies of humanology, in Kundalini Yoga, we talk about how the man has one center, one point, the lunar center here in the chin, and women have 11 centers. By the way, 11 is 1 plus 1, 2, so it's connected to number 2. 11 moon centers, very interesting. And they are through the body, and they affect the female psyche and female psycho-emotional state in a number of ways. So every 2 days and a half, the feminine, the woman, will be changing her emotional, mental state, and that will be associated to the moon that she is moving through. And it's got nothing to do with astrology, as far as I know, but it's something about the way the moon affects every woman in particular in a very specific way, because there is a universal way in which they are affected, and women, mature adult women, they have their period is synchronized also, so it goes in cycles of moon cycle, like a moon, like a month, a lunar month. But there is a general way in which the moon is affecting us, full moon and new moon and so on. But then there is a particular specific way for every woman, and that's particular for them, and that will be through the 11 moon points. That's very interesting. I don't know if I have a video in this channel on the 11 moon points. I'm not sure whether I did that or not. But yeah, you can research that if you want. It's very interesting. Anyway, that would connect to the moon as well. Interesting with the 11 moon points and number 2. And connected to sexuality as well, and the second chakra. So, another message. Please explain some details about pineal gland in some video in your free time. Thank you for the respect in the way you are asking it. The pineal, I can reflect about it a little bit. I don't know much about glands and hormones either. This is not my specialty. I know as much as I need to know as a yogi, but I don't have like an anatomical and physiological deep understanding of how these glands all interconnect. But maybe I can try to collect my notes and explain a little bit. There is a connection between pineal and pituitary, and how they are stimulated through meditation, and how they affect us in different ways. And that will be, to me, that's more interesting than the actual maybe physiology or medical understanding of what they do and how they do it. I mean, I understand a little bit of that, but very, very on the surface. But I'm more interested in about in the yogic understanding of that and how yoga affects us. So thank you for the question. I will put it in the box, in the inbox of things to do. And yeah, I think for today is great. We explore, we connected from the 7 and the 5 and the 1 back to the 2, and we opened up the discussion around qualities of number 2. Especially we explore water quite a bit, and hopefully this serves as a initial step into the water, like wetting our toes, no? Like getting into the shallow end first. Let's not jump into the deep water yet, but this will be the very beginning. And yeah, hopefully I can keep doing these videos more regularly now, because I have been a bit irregular in making videos, or quite irregular. But hopefully this will be, the next one will not take too long, because now we are in summer time and there's also holidays with my daughters, and it's not so easy to arrange, but I have a few free days now, and I will try to do another one on this. For now, thank you very much. If this was your first time watching a video, well, don't forget to subscribe so you can receive more of those. And for everybody who subscribes and everybody who is supporting the channel in many ways, thank you from the deep of my heart, and I'll see you in the next one. Sat Naams. Thank you. Thank you for being online as well and talking to me, Vanya. Sat Naams.